Hi guys, welcome back to the Chronic Chronicles, the podcast where we talk about all things chronic illness with a side of science and radical self-compassion. I'm your host Lexi, and today we are diving into one of the most emotionally draining yet ridiculously important parts of being chronically ill, which is self-advocacy at the doctor's office. I do have my iPad today, which is going to keep us on track because I have a lot of things that I've written down that I want to talk about today. If you've ever walked into a medical appointment full of hope and prep only to leave feeling misunderstood, dismissed, or even in tears, you're not alone. I have definitely been there so many times. And if you've ever had to coach yourself in the car, like, you got this, be firm, you deserve answers, and then totally blanked when they asked, so what brings you in today? Same. I do that probably every single time before I go into the doctor's office. What is it about a doctor's office that just makes you black out? Probably the trauma. It's actually so difficult. I leave feeling like I have no idea where the last 30 minutes or an hour went in my life every single time. This episode is for all of us who have had to learn how to advocate for ourselves in the doctor's office because no one was going to do it for us. Today, I'm going to walk through why self-advocacy is hard and how to not beat yourself up about it, how I prep for these appointments, exact phrases I use when things get awkward or dismissive, what I do after to come down emotionally and physically, and the stuff I wish somebody had told me years ago. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of today's episode, I do want to just do like a little bit of a catch-up with you guys. We haven't done the weekly reports in a long time. Normally I like prep what I'm gonna say for the weekly report, like I write it down and I'm like, oh, this is what I'm reading, this is what I'm eating, but I didn't do that today. So we're just gonna go off the cuff. So my weekly report, R is for reading. Right now I'm reading The Housemaid. I think it's by Frida McFadden, but The Housemaid, that series, there's three books in the series. I'm reading that currently. It's pretty good. And then also the self-help book I'm reading is Deeper Than Money by, what's her name? Chloe Elise, I think. So that book is also really good. Okay, E is for eating. Oh man, eating. I'm trying like intuitive eating at the moment. I mean, we always know that I'm trying to eat as anti-inflammatory as possible, but I just feel, I think I'm getting okay at, eating anti-inflammatory, but I'm trying a little bit of like intuitive eating, just eating when I'm hungry. I feel like for a long time I've been trying to force myself to eat like 3 meals a day because that's what's like quote unquote healthy, but that's really hard. I'm not hungry at breakfast. I never am hungry at breakfast. And I have been forcing myself to eat breakfast for like the last 2 weeks because, as you guys know, I was doing the 75 stronger, which is now the 85 stronger. I don't even know what day I'm on. I think I'm on day like 34 right now. And it's been going okay-ish. I like to say it's an experiment, not a challenge, because an experiment, you're going to get results either way. There is no failure. Whereas a challenge, it feels kind of like you either pass or you fail. This is an experiment. But anyways, why did I bring that up? Oh, on the 85 stronger experiment that I've been doing, one of my habits was to eat 3 meals a day because I thought that would help me like regulate my blood sugar. I have insulin resistance from PCOS. I struggle with like blood sugar spikes and crashes. So I'm like, okay, eating 3 meals a day is going to help me figure out my blood sugar a little bit better. But for the past 34 days, I've been trying to eat 3 meals a day, and I basically am like force feeding myself, and I haven't seen a difference in my energy levels actually, and I haven't seen a difference in I kind of thought that like after a while of making myself eat breakfast, maybe I would start like craving breakfast, but I haven't. So I'm kind of like, maybe this isn't what I should be doing. So I'm trying intuitive eating, basically just eating when I'm hungry, obviously still reaching for like healthier options, anti-inflammatory options, but like I've said before, we're doing kind of like an 80-20 situation. I'm not gonna like tell myself that I can't have what I want. I'm just, everything in moderation, you know? Anyways, so that's kind of like my shift in it. The whole motto between this like experiment that I've been doing with habits is really to just like modify, don't quit. So I think we're gonna modify from 3 meals a day to intuitive eating and see how that goes for the next. So I have 3, I don't have them with me right now, but I have 3 sheets of paper that have my habits on them. The first sheet was days 1 through 31, because it only goes up to 31. And then the second sheet is 31 through 62. So for this next sheet of paper, I changed it from 3 meals a day to intuitive eating. So we'll see how this goes. So far, it's been a lot easier than 3 meals a day. I did force myself to eat breakfast today because I had planned on going for a 6 a.m. run this morning, but then I decided I would record this podcast instead because I'm like, this is just, I needed to record the episode, and I felt like this was the easiest time of the day before my workday starts. It literally is 6:30 a.m. So that's why we have my cup of coffee too. Coffee ASMR. That's, I guess, everything I wanted to say with eating. Okay, REP report. P is playing. I've been playing golf. I guess this isn't really new. I still have not gone to the golf course though. I've only been going to the driving range. I'm kind of scared to go to the golf course because I don't know. Okay, don't get me wrong. I know that there are women that play golf. I know that there are women at the golf course, but I just feel like it's a man's thing, and I just am like nervous to go to the golf course, and like, I don't know, I feel like you have to like, I just feel like it's always like men are like looking at women in the golf course and they're like, like you're gonna take forever, or like just pick up the ball, blah blah blah. And I've actually never experienced that. I don't know why I feel like that, but in my brain that's what I'm nervous about. I'm nervous that I'm not gonna be able to keep up the pace of play, and then like these old men behind me are gonna like be mad at me or something, which is, now that I'm saying it out loud, like it's kind of a stupid fear. I need to get over it. I need to just go to the golf course, because you can only hit at the driving range so many times before you actually just need to like go try on a course, which I feel like I definitely am at that point. Like I go to the driving range at least once a week, and I have for months. Sometimes I go like twice. I don't think I've ever gone 3 times a week, but I've definitely gone twice a week. So I needed to get my booty out there and try, but that's what I've been doing. I've been playing golf. Okay, O is obsessing. Oh my God, guys, if you follow me on Instagram, the Instagram is at Chronic Chronicles Pod. I shared with you guys that I went a little bit crazy on Prime Day, or Prime Week. I don't know why they call it Prime Day, because it's not just a day, it's like a week, but whatever. I went a little bit, I'm literally staring into my living room and there's just boxes everywhere because we still need to take them to the recycle bin, but I've been going, every time I leave the house, I've been taking like a stack of boxes, and we still have so many, so I don't even know how this happened. There was a Costco trip as well, which gave us boxes. I went a little bit crazy on Prime Day, which also, as you can see, my new setup. Oh my God, I forgot to like mention that. It looks a little bit different today in the podcast quote unquote studio. I actually have a quote unquote studio. We are in my living room right now. We always had this chair, and I just was like, wait, this is a really good podcast chair. So I bought this microphone stand, and there's a studio light that's right next to me, which is also like kind of beating. I'm a little bit hot right now, but I bought this stuff to make myself a little podcast studio, and I got it on Prime Day. So that's one of the things, but that's not what I'm obsessing over. Although this is really cute, I'm kind of am obsessed with it. The real thing that I bought during Prime Week was an espresso machine. I have wanted, okay, I have ADHD. I feel like I've talked to you guys. I did a whole episode on this. We've definitely talked about it, but I have ADHD, and I feel like my ADHD goes into this a little bit, like having new hobbies, and just I feel like I try something and then I get good at it, and then I'm like, oh, I want to try something else, and I just have a list of things that I want to do all the time. And not only is it like that with hobbies, but it's also like that with careers. I kind of just like, I don't know, it's always been hard for me to be like, oh, I just want to do one thing. Even, and you might be thinking, excuse me, didn't you make like a bunch of episodes about how all you could ever see for yourself was being a doctor? Yes, let me explain. So, growing up, well, okay, we don't need to go that far back. I don't know, I'm the oldest daughter, I'm the firstborn. Academic validation was a big thing for me, and I was always really good at science, anatomy, and I was always really interested. My mom works in the healthcare field, so I always just kind of felt like at home in medicine. I also am chronically ill, so I had a little bit of like background, well, a lot of background with like being in doctor's offices on and off throughout my life and throughout my childhood. So there were like a lot of reasons that went into me wanting to become a doctor, but one of the big reasons that I was like, yeah, I could see myself doing this was because I never felt like I was going to be locked in with just being a doctor. And what I mean by that is I kind of had this vision for myself that like, yeah, I would go to med school, I would become a doctor, I'd work at a hospital for a little while, and then I would open my own practice, and I'd become, yes, I would still be practicing medicine, but I would like, be a business owner because I would have my own practice, and I would have like people that come in and like work for my practice, and I would maybe practice medicine like once or twice a week. I'd have like 2 office days. And then outside of that, I would be a professor and I would teach medical classes because I always wanted to teach as well. And I wanted the flexibility of like having, I work in my practice 2 days a week, and then 2 days a week I work at a university, or 3 days a week or whatever, and then I have a little bit of flexibility and I can go to my kids' baseball games or dance recitals or whatever. And then in the long term, I can open up a coffee shop, which you're probably wondering how these all connect, but that kind of goes back into my ADHD and also how I have always wanted to do like a million things. Like I've never been able to settle on one thing, which I'm still like that. Like there are just so many things I want to do, hobby-wise, career-wise, jobs, businesses. Like I have the podcast, which is technically under my LLC. It's a DBA under my LLC, but my original LLC is for Coastline Chic Designs, which is a clothing and design business. Originally, I was making items like wholesale for businesses like boutiques and stuff like that, like t-shirts and sweatshirts and mugs and all that stuff, tote bags. Now I've transitioned it into more of like making merch and like branded items for other small businesses, which I'm actually loving, like really enjoy that. Outside of that, I have always wanted a coffee shop. Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys my business idea, but like nobody steal it or I'm gonna be really pissed off at you. Somebody has probably already had that. This might already exist, but we can have more. So anyways, I've always imagined myself like in my like late 40s or 50s, opening a coffee shop. Okay, let me show you the vision. Opening a coffee shop where, okay, there's 2 buildings and there's like an archway in between the 2 buildings. So you can go, like there's 2 doors on the outside. You can go into the coffee shop, get your coffee, lovely, and then go through the archway and go into the other building. And the other building is like a maker's market. So like whoever has local businesses, local small businesses, like whether you make knickknacks or you knit your own like pot holders or whatever, or you make t-shirts, hats, keychains, like Maker's Mart, honey, local farmers. You go into that and that's like the Maker's Market. And then, so that's open, the coffee shop and whatever is open from like, okay, 6 to 9 or 6 to 5, and the same thing as the Maker's Mart. And then after 5 o'clock, the coffee shop turns into a wine bar and charcuterie boards, maybe whiskey as well. But I've always wanted that. That has been like something that I've been like, I don't know, I just see myself having that someday, and I've never been like, oh, I need to start it right now. It's always just been like, that'll happen eventually. Like like once I'm through my career and like burnt out, I'm definitely gonna do that. Yeah, that brings me to recently, I've been like, okay, well, I can't have a coffee shop right now, but what can I do right now? And I've been like really wanting like a truck, like a coffee truck. But also we live in an apartment. We have nowhere to put that. That's like a $70,000 investment that we don't have, and I'm a little bit scared to take on that business venture at the moment because I do work full-time. Hi, Bella. I'm gonna come up. So anyways, I was like, well, what can I do now to like start out this little venture? And, oh, welcome. Hi. Hi, Bells. Do you want to sit in my lap? Or you just want to sit there? I was like, what can I do now to start out this little venture? And I've been looking into a mobile coffee cart. And I was like, okay, this is a lot more like attainable to start out. Oh, are you okay? Sorry. Bella almost fell. It's far less of a deposit to like get started. I already go to markets for Coastline Chic, which I'm not really going anymore because I'm kind of switching that business model from like creating my own, I still create my own designs and stuff, but like very create my own design focus to targeting other small businesses with their branding. But I have a lot of experience in that, and I have a lot of connections. I already know how to apply to the market, so I'm like, ooh, we could do a little coffee cart. So that brings me to, I've always wanted an espresso machine. I had an espresso for the past like 5 years, and I really liked the Nespresso, but I just felt like a couple things. One, the pods are getting really expensive, and now that I work from home, I drink a lot of coffee at home. So I just felt like I was, saving money from not going to coffee shops as much, like on the way to work, because I don't leave my house to go to work every day. But now I felt like I was buying pods so often, and they're like $2 a pod. And sorry Nespresso if you're listening, but it's just really not that good. I don't know, I was getting like coffee that just didn't taste that good. And I really wanted an espresso machine. So with this whole like coffee cart idea, Prime Day, I found an espresso machine, Breville. I got the Breville infuser, and then I got a coffee grinder externally because I read that I was looking at the Breville Barista Express, I think, which was a couple $100 more than the one I got, but it had a grinder included in it. But then what I was reading and like seeing on like Reddit and TikTok was that the first thing to go on that machine was the grinder. So I was like, okay, I might as well just get like a little bit cheaper of a machine and then buy a nice grinder. So that's what I ended up doing. I love it. This is my obsession. I'm obsessing over it. I have only had it for like 4 days, so I've been making lattes for 4 days. I'm already like halfway through this latte, but I think today is like the first day that I actually pulled a decent shot. This is just so fun. It's been like a whole new like learning process. There's actually so much science behind espresso and coffee and like coffee making. It is a very expensive hobby though. I'm not gonna lie. I've put a lot of money into this already in the last 4 days. And then like getting good coffee, learning the grind settings, all of the things. It's a learning process, but it's been really, really fun. So I've had a lot of fun with that. Okay, REPOR, recommending. What am I recommending? Honestly, a freaking espresso machine. It is an investment. It is expensive, but I'm loving it right now. I did put it on my credit card, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I get credit card travel points, so yay. Double win. Girl math, right? It's gonna pay for a future flight. Girl math. Okay, recommending an espresso machine. Report. Tea. Treating. I'm just gonna be basic and say I'm treating myself to a shit ton of coffee every day. Like I'm drinking more coffee than I probably should. I've been drinking like 3 lattes a day. 1, that's a shit ton of caffeine, and 2, that's a lot of milk. So probably need to dial it back to like 2 lattes a day. Bella, are you just gonna like sit here this whole episode, my love? This is so cute. She's shedding a lot though, because it's kind of hot in here. Sorry. Anyway. Bella, you can stay, baby. Okay. Anyways, treating, yeah, more coffee than necessary. And that's my weekly report. Okay, well, that was fun. That was like a lot more. That was very long-winded. Sorry, guys. But any other update? I don't think there's any more updates at the moment. Trying to figure out if I want to do our last like in-person community event was in March for endometriosis awareness, and I'm trying to think if I've been thinking about like what I want to do for them this year, and if I want to do one this summer in Seattle, or if we should do another one in Portland, or if we should do one somewhere else. Like, I'm going to be, I think, in Rochester, New York in September, and I'm also going to be in Michigan in September. So I'm like, okay, should we do like another location? I don't know if people that listen to the podcast are in any of those locations, but that would be really fun. Or maybe even going to a different location. So I might do a poll on Instagram, so head over there and we can talk about community events, in-person events. But yeah. Aw, bye, Bean. Love you. Okay, you just got hair. Wow. She got hair everywhere. But anyway, yeah, so I've been thinking about community events and in-person events and trying to figure out. There's literally floating cat hair everywhere. Anyway, yeah, I've been thinking about community events and like what we want to do and how many we want to do this year, if we want to include some fundraising. Yeah, so I'll be on Instagram for like polls and questions for you guys to figure out what you guys want to do, but definitely on my radar. Okay, I think that's all the updates, guys. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of today's episode. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Medical trauma. Medical trauma is real. Self-advocacy is hard. Self-advocacy is hard not because we're bad at speaking up, but because many of us have been through experiences where speaking up didn't help. We've had to fight to be believed. We've had symptoms minimized or brushed off, or we've had symptoms that we're told that it was just anxiety and that we look healthy, or we're too young to be sick. We're too healthy looking to be taken seriously. And that builds up. That becomes a pattern recognition thing for your nervous system. So the next time you're sitting in that exact room with the paper thin gowns and the fluorescent lights and the 10-minute time slot that you get with your physician, your body is already like, this is not safe. Even if the doctor is lovely, even if you're taken seriously, even if you come prepared, your body is still reacting. Your body is reacting to a situation that in the past has told you this isn't safe and you're not going to be heard. Let's also name the power imbalance here. You're not chatting with a friend, you're sitting across from someone who can grant or deny access to referrals, prescriptions, accommodations, and even surgery. The power dynamic is real, especially for marginalized people or for people who have ever been dismissed before. So if you freeze up or you go blank or you dissociate during your appointments, it doesn't mean you're weak, it just means you're human. Before we go any further, I want you to take a breath with me. I know this is cliche, but like seriously, let's inhale and exhale together. So we're gonna inhale and exhale. You're doing better than you think. I like to think of myself as the CEO of my own body, which sounds dramatic, but also accurate. Like, I am the CEO of my body. I'm in charge of, I guess, most things that happen in my body, although having chronic illnesses and invisible disabilities definitely make it feel like I'm not in charge of my body. But here's what I do before doctor's appointments to feel even 10% more in control. Okay, number one, write down your goals. I always go in with a short list, so like 2 to 3 things max. It could be like 2 or 3 things that are super important for you to walk out of this appointment with. Like, 1, a referral to a different specialist, or maybe like a referral to a pelvic floor physical therapist. 2, check your new test results and then ask about the next steps. And 3, bring up new symptoms and get them documented in your records. 2, gather your receipts. This means a medical list, bonus points if you note dosages and side effects that you've been experiencing, past imaging or lab summaries. And for me, I think the most helpful thing that I've ever done in doctor's appointments is bring a symptom tracker. So I have a physical symptom tracker that I created myself, and might be part of a secret project that I've been working on for you guys for like over a year. But anyways, is really easy for me to flip to a page and show my doctor like literally things that I've been going through and show them actual hard data and trends. So either a symptom tracker or a symptom tracker or a timeline of what's been happening can be really, really helpful. Even having a note in your phone is powerful. I've literally pulled open my notes app before and said, I've written down a few things because I get overwhelmed in appointments. Do you mind if I read this off? Also, pro tip, I've also done that exact same thing, that exact same verbiage, and used that in relationship, like my boyfriend and I, when we're having like a serious conversation, or like I want to bring up something that I feel like we need to talk about. I don't do well if I don't have it like written down. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna forget. I have so much brain fog, so I'm like, I'm gonna forget what I wanted to say, or I'm gonna get like overly emotional, and I just want to remember what I want to talk about. So I do that. I've also done that in work meetings, you know, things I want to bring up to my family. I think it's just good in general for like conversation to say, I've written down a few things because I get overwhelmed. Can I please read this off to you? That line alone has changed so many of my appointments. Okay, number 3, prep emotionally and physically. So wear clothes that make you feel comfortable and confident. Eat something beforehand. Low blood sugar plus medical gaslighting equals emotional meltdown. And you could bring headphones for calming music in the waiting room, or I like to bring a book sometimes and like actually stay off my phone, because sometimes if I'm like scrolling through TikTok in the waiting room, I just like get even more stressed out because everything's so fast paced that my heart rate is like risen, or my heart rate is high anyways. So I'll just bring a book and I'll read a couple pages of whatever book I'm reading. Also, bring a buddy if you can, even if it's virtual, having somebody on a call with you so that they can also retain the information, they can have your back. Sometimes just knowing someone's in your corner helps you stay grounded. I do want to pause really quick to give a shout out to one of our sponsors for today's episode, Spicy. I've talked about Spicy before, but I absolutely love them. They created a small heat patch that is sticky. It actually stays all day. It lasts 8 to 12 hours. I've usually just used one and it stays hot all day. And it warms up so fast, like literally within 10 to 15 seconds, it's hot as shit. And I'm like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need for my endometriosis flare on the go. And it makes me feel more confident in leaving the house, because I'm like, okay, if I get a flare while I'm out, I have a Spicy heat patch that takes up minimal room in my purse. It fits in like basically anything to take with me. And I can throw on a Spicy heat patch and then I'll know that I can actually make it through the day most times when I'm out. But heat is my number one go-to for pain relief, and this has been so helpful. You can use code Chronic Chronicles for a discount at getspicy.com. Let's talk about what to say when you finally get face-to-face with the provider. I know that this is the part where most of us struggle. So here are some of the phrases that I actually use broken down by situation. Okay, at the beginning of the appointment, you could say, I've had some difficult experiences with doctors not taking my symptoms seriously, so I might over-explain. Or, I brought a short list of things I want to make sure we get to. Can I walk you through it before we get started? Either of these options set the tone and gently signals that you're not messing around. Like, you have things that you want to get through today, and you have prepared for this appointment. If the convo starts going off track, you could say, I want to make sure that we don't run out of time. Can we please circle back to whatever your concern was? Or you could say, that's really helpful. I want to make sure that this symptom does not get missed. It's really been affecting my daily life. When you feel dismissed, you could say something like, I know this might not sound serious on paper, but it has been seriously affecting my ability to function. I'm not comfortable with that plan. Can we discuss another option? I'd like to advocate for a referral, a specific test, a second opinion based on my experience. Can you please help me out with this today? All of these things are kind of switching the power. Like they're dismissing you on something and you're saying, I recognize what's going on. Let's go back to this. You're taking the power back. If they say it's just anxiety or you're fine, we could say, I understand that everything looks normal, but I'm still experiencing these symptoms and they're getting worse. Or it may be anxiety. I'm open to discussing mental health support if needed, but I also want to make sure that we're not missing something physical. You are allowed to set the pace. You're not there to impress them. You're there to get care. I also want to say that there is a lot of power in taking a moment to pause. So if you want to take a moment to pause and collect your thoughts, you could say, I need a second to collect my thoughts. Or can you please repeat that in simpler terms? You could also say, this feels like a lot of information. Can I follow up with a couple of questions later? You're allowed to slow it down. This is not a performance. It's your body. It's your care. It's your life. So you are allowed to be in charge of the pace of the appointment. And you are allowed to be in charge of the pace of your medical care. Even when things go well, I'm usually wrecked after appointments. Anyone else? I don't know. I don't know if that's just me, but my cat is literally playing with springs in front of me, and it's probably the most distracting thing I've ever seen. I did actually pull out, I think it was 16. I think we counted 16 springs out from under my couch, and I made the mistake of just putting them in the center of the living room, and now she's literally playing with 16 springs, but that's fine. We're gonna let her live her best life. Okay, the crash from being at a doctor's appointment is so real. So you have a lot of things going on in your body during this. You have adrenaline, masking, you're being on in a high stress setting, and there's a couple things that help me recover from this. So one, I do a debrief. I think for me this is like the most important and beneficial thing that I do after my doctor's appointments. Normally I do a voice memo, so I just open up my phone, go to voice memo, and just like word vomit like a couple of things. One, how I'm feeling. Two, this is I think the most important part. Two, I word vomit everything I can recall, everything I remember them saying, and like important things that they said. Because I feel like, I don't know if this is common with other people, but, and this might be the trauma in me, the childhood trauma, I'm not sure, but I have a really hard time remembering like anything, also the brain fog, but I can remember like immediately after, like I'll walk out of the doctor's appointment and I'll be like, okay, you have to remember this, you have to remember this, and then I like, if I don't do anything with it, it's gone. I like won't actually recollect what we really talked about or what was really said. So the voice memo and like word vomiting, brain dumping, everything that was just talked about and like how I'm feeling, what we said next steps would be, that really, really helps me. I used to do kind of like a journal dump, but that would mean that I'd have to wait until I got home and then write it all down. And it wasn't like quick enough for me. Like I was already forgetting things. So literally getting into my car after my appointment, opening my voice memo, and just like bleh, everything has been so beneficial, because then I can go back and listen to it, and then I can like write down stuff in my symptom tracker or my journal or whatever if I feel like I need to do that. Or I can like write down bullet points of like, okay, this is the biggest things that she said or he said, and these are the things that I want to talk about next time, or these are the things that I'm still confused about that we didn't get to. So anyways, the debrief, crucial, guys. If you don't do this, try it. Give it a try. Okay, secondly, I celebrate the small stuff. Did you ask a hard question? Did you say something vulnerable? That's a win. Give yourself a treat. My go-to is getting a yummy coffee after, which I guess now it's going to be coming home and making myself a yummy coffee, but normally my go-to is to go get a coffee, or to go to Target and do a Target run, or come home and binge watch Vanderpump Rules, which also I started watching that a couple weeks ago and I freaking love it. Why didn't anyone tell me how entertaining Vanderpump Rules is? Crazy, absolutely crazy. And if anyone wants to talk to me about Vanderpump Rules, I have some feelings, particularly about the Ariana, Kristen, and Tom Scandival situation. Very interesting stuff, okay? Anyways, and lastly, community check-in. So texting a friend, calling a family member, calling my boyfriend, calling somebody and like venting and just validating the situation also helps me kind of like emotionally regulate myself. Or one of my favorites recently has been just going on a walk and like doing another debrief into my phone and just like, instead of calling somebody else and venting about it, kind of like venting to myself on my walk into my phone and then just like deleting it after. I don't delete the debrief after the initial doctor's appointments. I delete the venting session later when I go on a walk. So anyways, two different things. Sometimes I cry. That doesn't mean I didn't do a good job. It just means that I was brave while I was like really dysregulated, and that's actually pretty powerful. I think that crying gets a bad rep, that, you know, everyone's like, oh, don't cry, like, you're fine. No, a girl needs to cry, okay? A girl needs to cry. I love a good crying session. I need to get it out. I feel so much better after I cry, like 95% of the time, as long as I'm alone. I don't love, like, crying in front of other people, but if I, like, have a good cry in my car, I feel better 95% of the time. So if you need to cry, cry. It is your body releasing. And you're regulating yourself. Give yourself a good cry, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. If I could go back in time and talk to baby chronic illness me, I would say you don't need perfect language to be taken seriously. You deserve care, even if your symptoms don't show up on a lab. A normal result doesn't mean a normal life. It's okay to outgrow providers. It's also okay to, I don't really know what to say other than like dating your providers. And what I mean by that is like, you can like go, okay, I feel like date is the wrong word, but you can like, you know, I think of it as like you can go to an appointment with a provider once or twice and be like, we're not a good match. I'm gonna go find someone else. No, bye. It's like dating. You go on 1 or 2 dates and then you're like, we're not a good match. I'm gonna find someone else. I feel the same way with providers. You guys have to be a good fit. You have to understand each other. You have to communicate well. Like, this is your body. This is your life. This is your health. So I am 100% a believer that if you don't have a good connection with your provider, you should find a different one. Also, it is completely okay for you to have a provider for like 3 years and then be like, I just don't think we're on the same page anymore. Like, I need someone else. I don't think that they're giving me quality care anymore. That's okay. Same thing with your boyfriend that you dated for 3 years and then outgrew each other. It hurts. It's not fun. It's not easy to pick up and go find another one, but it's probably the best thing for you if you've outgrown each other. And then the last thing I wish that I could say to myself is, you don't have to be the perfect patient to be worthy of help. You don't. No one's perfect. We're all human. I know it's scary to speak up, but every time you do, even just a little, you're building a muscle. You're saying, I matter, and that matters. I think that's all for today, guys. I hope that this gave you some tools, some language, some things to revert back to if you need to figure out like what you need to say. Honestly, all of these things that were like, you know, this is what I would say, I put in my notes like with those situations, and then I would like practice them. I'd be like, okay, like if this comes up, this is what I'm gonna say. Or if this comes up, this is what I'm gonna say. I don't think there's any shame in that. I don't think and if you're gonna be on your phone looking at things during your appointment, I think that the biggest thing you could do is just tell your provider that you have things written down in your phone to try to keep you on track in your appointment. And then they understand that you're not like ignoring them or anything like that, but like you are literally trying to have the best appointment that you can by reverting back to what you've written down. So, navigating in the healthcare system isn't just about advocating for your body, it's about protecting your whole self. Your time, your energy, your dignity, All of these are worthy of respect. If you loved this episode, please, please, please share it with a friend who has a doctor's appointment upcoming. Or post it to your story and tag me at Chronic Chronicles Pod so I can cheer you on. I'm so excited for you guys to hear this episode, and I really hope that it helps you in your next doctor's appointment. And if you have any of your own on-the-go phrases, prep tips, or I finally stood up for myself moments, please DM me. I'd love to do a follow-up with some of your stories. That would be really fun. We haven't done any episodes where I have your own experiences that you've messaged me, and you guys do message me a lot about stuff, so I think I'm going to do one of those in the future. So if you have any of your own personal stories, I'd love to share them. Obviously, they would be all anonymous, but let me know. Until next time, speak up when you can, rest when you need, and remember, you are not difficult, dramatic, or too much. You're just trying to get the care that you deserve. Okay, I love you all so much. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye!